Why has the world fallen in love with K-pop? We'll look at the growing popularity of Korean popular music and its global cultural impact.
We want to hear from both superfans and those who are K-pop curious. You can join this conversation live on YouTube and via Twitter.
Known for intensely choreographed music videos with striking visuals, K-pop has become a worldwide cultural phenomenon with the help of social media fandoms and music-sharing platforms. The genre has been around for at least 2 decades, but is now making huge strides in the West and other regions beyond East Asia. And if you've been following K-pop's rise, you've probably heard of the boy band BTS. They made history this year by becoming the first K-pop act with 2 #1 albums on the Billboard 200 chart. Have a look at the trailer for the BTS movie, Burn the Stage. K-pop, along with the popular South Korean TV dramas, are a major part of the Korean cultural wave known as Hallyu. So today we'll discuss the rise of K-pop and how this major cultural export is shaping the image of Korea abroad.
Well, joining us to talk about this is our panel of K-pop fans. In Seoul, Danny Kim. He's one of the creators of DKDK TV. That's a YouTube channel where you can watch his video series, K-pop Explained by a Korean. In Toronto, Canada, Michelle Cho, an assistant professor of East Asian popular cultures at the University of Toronto. She is the author of Hallyu 2.0, the Korean wave in the age of social media. And in New York, Bora Kim. She is the creator of the band known as EXP Edition. Welcome all of you to the stream. I want to start with a member of our community who pitched the idea for today's show all the way from New Zealand. Anthony sent us a video comment on why he thinks this is an important topic.
Why do I like K-pop? Because it's so clean and so healthy. The music coming out of South Korea is a lot of fun. The dancing is just incredible. My favorite group is Twice, so I'm what they call a once.
He mentioned his favorite group there, and if you're not familiar, take a look at my screen here, Twice members profile. This is a fan page there. Danny, talk to us about K-pop. What makes K-pop K-pop? What makes it distinctive and different from other forms of musical entertainment?
Well, to define K-pop, there's, I guess, 2 different meanings to K-pop, the word itself. First is like Korean pop, which is just Korean music itself, what international fans usually call K-pop. And then there's the industry term K-pop, where we define K-pop as this form of, I guess, production of music, where these companies, they bring in talent and then train them for many, many years, and then put them out as a product at the end. So this entire system, this ecosystem, is what we Koreans would usually call K-pop, like the idol, the K-pop idol. And I think that will be the more correct or the more accurate term to discuss on this show, perhaps. I don't know what the other panelists are thinking, but to me it is.
Michelle, one of the joys of enjoying music is being able to look back through different decades and saying, well, that defined the decade, and that style of music defined the decade. What is it about contemporary K-pop right now that is telling us about what's happening in South Korea?
Well, I think that I would kind of augment the definition of K-pop that Danny just gave with emphasis on the fact that it's a multimedia phenomenon, and it is also driven very much by social media engagement. So that's the way that fans from all over the world can access the content that the K-pop industry is putting out, and also the way that they can interact with each other and with the idols themselves. So when I say it's a multimedia phenomenon, it's not just a musical genre or a music. The music itself is not the only product that is being presented by the industry. It's also music videos, fashion, all of these different kinds of content, and I think it's primarily visual.
So before we get too much further here, I want to recognize that there are members of our community, especially on YouTube, where the chat is already very vibrant here, who aren't so sure what we're talking about, and they want to know a little bit more. So this is Little Bio Bug who writes in live. I have questions about how the K-pop industry started and why it's so different from American music companies. So there's a question there. We got part of an answer on Twitter. This is S. Sarah who writes in that it's because they've cracked the code of entertainment. They know exactly what will make people excited, and they train stars rigorously to execute it perfectly. Bora, I'll give this one to you because you are the creator of the first non-Korean K-pop group. What would you say to this person who says, what makes it so different from other musicians?
I think it's such an eloquent description of K-pop. When you talk about K-pop, you cannot mention idol. So I think it's you can say that K-pop is idol music, and idol groups are a very important part of K-pop. And the just music itself is mainly electronic dance music, but the performance that those idol groups give is so addicting. It is so mesmerizing. I think a lot of people have a hard time getting out of it when you first get into it.
I'm going to play a little bit from BTS track called Idol, but before I do, Danny, do you want to unpack that concept of idol? There are boy bands and girl bands all over the world, so once you explain it, everybody will go, oh yes, I know what you're talking about. But that idea of idols and creating them, explain that a little bit more for us.
Just think like Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, basically, like boy groups. But I guess it's kind of like that was, I guess, the initial type of idols that we had in Korea were basically boy bands and girl groups. But then they've kind of grown and evolved more and more as the generations went. And now we kind of define the current generation of idols as the third generation. And basically, from being like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, they've grown to groups that are like BTS, where they produce their own music and produce a lot of different content, not just music, but videos and other stuff as well. They released a movie recently, and it's just like a boy group that is very, very refined by the company, and is heavily produced and is consumed on a very wide basis. And
Right.
It's basically like an idol. It's an idol for teenagers.
You're
They are
smiling
perfect.
so broadly. Wait till I start playing this track, because I know it's one of your favorite tracks. Okay, everybody, stand by for this. It's a little snippet of Idol from BTS. The production values are phenomenal, Bora, when you look at some of the best of the K-pop videos. How is that achieved?
Well, firstly, the performance level of the idols themselves is very, very high quality because they are trained from a very young age under entertainment companies, and because they are trained from such a young age, and they become this media personality that are well-rounded. They can sing, they can dance, and they can act, and so they are very well-rounded entertainers. And also, the production quality obviously comes from those entertainment companies that have been doing this for a long time, and they focus mostly on idol groups, so they have this down. And another thing about these idols that I want to mention is that the public image, the expectation that Korean public have on idols is very high. So being idol means that they are perfect, and they not only their talent but looks and their personality, and so maybe it's easy to think about it as like Olympians. So here, like those athletes, and how like those athletes, idols almost have this certain level of respect in Korean pop culture because it is so hard to become one.
It's the idea of that perfection there. I'll go to you with this, Michelle, because it's the idea of perfection that people are picking up on. This is one person on YouTube. This is Tammy. She says, I'm a female. I'm age 53. I've just discovered K-pop, and I love it. Big Bang and G-Dragon are my favorite, with BTS being the runner-up. But another person on YouTube, this is Lauren, says that the work ethic of every single K-pop group is really astounding, and it's something Western artists couldn't even begin to understand. So Michelle, that could be a good thing, but that can also be something that people criticize these groups for.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think idol culture is very, very new and different to listeners in Europe and North America or outside of the East Asian region, because it was invented in Japan, actually. And the concept of an idol is a different sort of celebrity, perhaps, than what we're used to. Idols are understood to have a certain kind of obligation to the public, that they're supposed to be model citizens and role models for young people, and they're supposed to always behave in an edifying manner for the public. But what that can lead to is this intense pressure that's placed on very young people who are part of this idol system that is hyper competitive, that can lead to also a lot of exploitation. Idol wannabes, or people who are trying to break into the industry, are sometimes placed under extreme restrictions, and they really don't have a lot of power or agency until they become more famous, and then they can, push back perhaps against their management or against the people that are kind of training them. So this is the kind of dark underbelly of K-pop and the industry that sometimes gets a lot of criticism. And so it's important for fans and observers to understand that the kind of shiny image is sometimes produced through pretty harsh conditions.
I want to take you to, oh, yes, go ahead, Danny.
Can I add on? Yeah, actually, a lot of people say that the success factor of K-pop idols is because they are so hardworking, and people recognize that. And part of the reason why they are hardworking, to add on to Michelle, is that they actually go in depth when they are being trained. So the companies, they spend a lot of money training these idols to become debut worthy and become product worthy, basically. And when at the time of their debut, some of them may have been training for 5-7 years. It's crazy. Like, they go into this rigorous training regimes for 7 years without getting spotlight, just to make their first single. And by
Danny,
that time,
not everybody makes it.
no,
Correct?
actually,
So-
most people don't.
So there's an
make it.
intake. It's almost like you're going to drama school, or you're going to K-pop idol school,
Yeah.
and you're drilled, and you get into physical shape, and you learn how to dance and all of that. But at the end of it, you might not even make it into a K-pop band.
Yes, that's a big factor. And even if you do make it, the chances of you succeeding is very, very low. And not only that, but the cost that the company spent on training you for the 7 years, they actually put that on you. It's not free. So actually, you would have to work many, many years without any pay, paying off your debt to the company in order to finally start breaking the balance and making money. So actually,
Yeah.
it's not only for there's a big risk for the companies that they've already spent, like, they have a lot of sunk costs into this. Plus, the artists themselves, they want to work hard, because otherwise they're never going to pay off their debts.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That is so
I think,
interesting
in fact,
to hear.
if I can jump in here, it's actually this drama of a kind of, almost a hero's journey that has become also a selling point, or a reason why fans get involved in their fandom of particular groups and particular people. And it's something that the industry has also picked up on as another form of content. So there are very popular groups that have been composed through kind of audition programs. And this mythology kind of builds around particular groups and particular individuals and how they've really overcome hardship in order to
Michelle,
find
that's
success.
so common for boy bands and girl bands the world over. I'm so glad you mentioned
Yes.
fans, because I want to take you to October 2018 when BTS was playing on tour in Paris. And here's a little snippet of how the fans reacted to their favourite band being in Paris. Have a look.
I watch Korean dramas and I really like the soundtrack, and one of the soundtrack songs was from a K-pop group, so that's how I got into K-pop. And then I was like, hey, do you know K-pop? Blood, Sweat and Tears.
Blood, Sweat and Tears is my favorite.
내 피다 눈물, 내 마지막 춤을 다 가져가. Oui, ça veut dire mon sang, ma sueur.
It means my blood, my sweat, and my tears. It often talks about love or self-love, so it's very important.
Oui, ça parle souvent d'amour.
Really, it's exceptional. We are Korean, and a Korean band that really succeeds in France. There's so many people from all over the world who come to a BTS concert. A Korean band. It's really touching and impressive. I'm very proud.
So Bora, from France to Tanzania, this is Washington, who says, I live in Tanzania and we have been loving Korean culture through films and drama. I think 80% of Tanzania's population knows Korean culture. From Tanzania, then over to Japan, where Sarah says, I live in Japan and K-pop and K-drama are never off the charts or off of the TV. It's mainstream now. And this last one is from the US. Bashor writes in, as president of the Kent State Korean Culture Club, a university here, we've seen an uptick in membership because of K-pop and groups like BTS. However, what is concerning about that is the members only being interested in Korean pop music, not really caring about Korea as a whole. What's your take on that? And where's the place that might be the most surprising that you've seen interest in K-pop?
All over the world. Like, I can't really pinpoint one place, but the first thing that I can think of is South America, because it's surprising to us because we never made any content in Spanish or Portuguese, or we never been to South America, but we have this really big Latin following, and I find it amazing that people care about K-pop so much in Latin America.
Danny, K-pop explained by Korean is one of the reasons that you are online, but I heard fans there singing in Korean, so maybe you're out of a job. How does that actually happen? How do you explain the spread of K-pop out of South Korea, where the bands are still singing in Korean and the fans are loving it?
Well, first off, I think social media really helps. Because it's very easy there's no barriers in terms of geography anymore. And in terms of the language barrier, I think the fandom culture, the fan culture in South Korea and K-pop, they really want to support their artists. They are like their mothers and their fathers for their artists. They're not just simply fans consuming their content. They really want the best for their artists. So they actually, there's a lot of them voluntarily, translate and try to spread their artists to other people outside of South Korea, to other countries. So I think that kind of culture was engraved in the K-pop industry among the fans is very, very helpful in spreading this, as well as videos like ours that explain the true meaning behind the K-pop songs. It really helped. Actually, I got a lot of feedback. Part of the reason why I made those videos explaining the K-pop lyrics was because a lot of people got the translations, but they couldn't get the cultural context which the song was made in, which is a little bit different, a little bit more difficult to, I guess, interpret it. So I'm helping that out. But yeah, there's a lot of good sources online on social media that can help the non-Korean speaker learn K-pop songs and follow them along.
if I could jump in quickly here to say a little bit more about fandoms and fan culture, I think it's important to understand that within East Asia and other places where K-pop is really the mainstream pop culture. In contrast to that, outside of that region, K-pop fandom represents a subculture. So when you see fans who are talking about their interest in K-pop who are from outside of an Asian region, they're really going out and pursuing something that's very different from what's on offer in the mainstream pop culture that they have access to from their locality. So K-pop fandom, while it is a kind of global network of fans that connect with each other on social media platforms, it's also very different things in different places. So I would agree that channels like DKDK TV are really helping to make connections between fans in Asia versus fans outside, or fans who need different sorts of explanation, again, beyond just the translation of the lyrics. But I was really struck by how some of the fans that you captured in that clip at the Paris show were showing their really hardcore interest. They go beyond just the casual consumer, because they are going so far as to learn the language or to learn how to sing the songs just using kind of
Never
phonetics.
underestimate the power of a teenage fan.
Yes.
and some older ones in there. I think that French clip had the mother of the teenage fan who was just as dedicated. I want to share another fan, this one on YouTube. Alice writes in, I'm 21 and I like BTS. I've seen firsthand the impact that BTS has on fans of all ages. Their songs mean a lot to a lot of people. So that's one person's take on it. I also want to share a video comment we got from an assistant professor at New York University. And here's what she told the stream.
This current moment we're in, where Korean pop culture has gained so much global traction, can really be attributed to the fact that South Korea is the most wired nation globally, and that's reflected in its marketing strategies. So that rabbit hole that you fall into when you start surfing YouTube and you don't come up for air for 6 hours, that really introduces you to multiple Korean pop culture genres, K-dramas, film, on top of K-pop. And that's what scholars call the augmented entertainment of Korean pop culture, where K-pop stars are the glue that hold together seemingly disparate industries like cuisine, fashion, makeup, even cars and water heaters, right? And all of this is being sold to you as well as the brand of South Korea, and it leaves you wanting more.
Danny, she talks about the brand of South Korea. Is there intention behind that?
You mean in terms of the government pushing it?
Whoever, whether it's the government or whether it is corporations trying to push what might be called a soft power. Is that how you see this?
Well, I think there is definitely a push in terms of like people. I guess I don't want to use the word gateway drug, but kind of K-pop is kind of like a gateway drug to Korean culture itself. It seems like, because a lot of fans, they get in touch with Korean culture via K-pop. And then they start delving into like, oh, what are these, my favorite idols wearing? What are they eating and stuff like that? And they get interested in this stuff. And actually, there has been a trend where labels, K-pop labels, they go off into different businesses, especially restaurant business. So currently, like one of the biggest labels, YG, has a chicken chain and a pork belly chain, which is a traditional Korean BBQ type of thing. So like it's expanding into different areas of Korean culture, and you can see that from these companies trying to expand their businesses into different Korean culture ventures, right?
Danny, I'm just going to show our audience some of the impact of Korean or K-pop. K-pop's global popularity draws foreign students to South Korea universities. This is really interesting. Red Velvet's bubblegum pop fine-tunes South Korean diplomacy. Red Velvet is a band. And then here is something I am surprised to see, but it's a beautiful thing. A K-pop band that has no Koreans in it. Have a listen. This is Bora. This is all Bora's work.
대체 뭐가 잘못됐는지 나 정말 살기가 힘들다 이렇구면
Isn't imitation maybe the best form of flattery? Thank you so much to Danny, to Michelle, and also to Bora as well for your take and helping us walk us through K-pop and contemporary K-pop and the Korean wave. Malika and I will see you online. Until then, thanks for watching.